I don't want to live in a hole anymore. It makes me feel poor.
We are poor, but we're happy.
Come see, come sa. Anyway, the views are better above ground. Honey, I'm 7 non-Fox years old now. My father died at 7.5. I don't want to live in a hole anymore, and I'm going to do something about it.
You ever wonder why the English language is so hard for some foreigners to learn? Well, it's because we have a bunch of words that sound the same but have different meanings called homophones. You see, Mr. Fox's most famous quote about not wanting to live in a hole anymore quite literally means two things. For starters, a hole, which is a hollow place in a solid body or surface. But it could also mean that Mr. Fox doesn't feel whole as a person. These type of people are always trying to fill a void, kinda like how a black hole is always consuming. If you don't mind me asking, I'm just a little curious, are you happy and satisfied with the way you're living your life now? And if the answer is no, that's okay. I feel sometimes we get in the way of our own happiness by focusing on the stuff that we don't have instead of what's in front of us. This is what the fantastic Mr. Fox goes through in the movie. And with this, I'm going to show you how to be happy with less. But before we can start, we have to figure out what makes Mr. Fox himself. For starters, he's a husband and a father, two really big commitments. He's also very clever when it comes to ideas. He's a character that thinks he's always right.
Well, I guess the horse fence would be a little safer.
Well, but the bridle path puts us right out next to the squab shack.
Okay.
And he's also very self-centered and overly ambitious. But most importantly, he's flawed. The story starts off 12 Fox years ago with Felicity and Fox robbing a squab coop. They would have successfully completed the mission if Fox didn't get sidetracked thinking he can outsmart the trap.
It's gonna land.
Let's go.
In the midst of this, Felicity drops some life-changing news to Fox.
I'm pregnant.
Wow. We're gonna have a cub. Honey, that's great news.
In return, she has one condition. If they were to survive this moment, she wants Mr. Fox to quit his life of crime and settle down to take care of their kid. And his reaction is genuinely gold.
Okay.
It's two subtle details in this moment that makes this movie great for me. The thunderstrike represents the downfall of their marriage, and Mr. Fox realizing he doesn't like his life right now. Felicity is a great painter, and every painting she makes from start to finish is a natural disaster. Second detail I love is Mr. Fox's grin when he finds out Felicity is pregnant. He also does this when he's in danger.
Is your name Spitz? That's German, isn't it?
Even though the characters work human jobs and even wear human clothes, they're still wild animals in the show. You see, foxes in the wild sometimes show teeth in a moment of fear or submission to cause less tension between foxes and other animals.
Anyway, the views are better above ground.
The moment he does take initiative to do something. His first plan was to buy a tree for a new home because it was the furthest thing from a hole.
May I ask what you do for a living, Mr. Fox?
I used to steal birds, but now I'm a newspaper man.
Oh, sure. I've seen your byline.
Don't buy this tree, Foxy. You're borrowing at 9.5 with no fixed rate, plus moving into the most dangerous neighborhood in the country for someone of your type of species.
Little does the lawyer know, but he sparked a flame for Mr. Fox's actions in the future. Even after finding out that there's 3 farmers that will kill him and his family if they're caught, he doesn't budge, and he sees this as a challenge.
I'm saying this more as like existentialism, you know? Who am I? And how can a fox ever be happy without you'll forgive the expression, a chicken in its teeth?
I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds illegal.
Here, put this bandit hat on.
I want to clarify that there's nothing inherently wrong about wanting more success. I mentioned that Mr. Fox is overly ambitious, which made me think about the difference between ambition and greed, or being driven versus being selfish. I want you to take a look at this Nike ad that was dropped during the Olympics.
Am I a bad person? Tell me, am I? I'm single-minded. I'm deceptive. I'm obsessive. I'm selfish. Does that make me a bad person? Am I a bad person? Am I?
I thought it was kind of funny how we often label people as greedy when they desire more, but call them ambitious if they succeed in getting it. I honestly just think the real difference lies in personal limits and morals. For example, imagine you were born poor and you worked hard to achieve a comfortable level of wealth. Then one day you were presented with an opportunity to triple that wealth, but the catch is you must destroy a forest reserve. Now the actual question is would you take it? You see, ambition got you to comfort, but greed drives the decisions to exploit others for more. The debate about billionaires and if they truly benefit society or not often leads to the conclusion of no, at least for me. I think the world has a very big wealth hoarding problem. I'm generally fine with millionaires, but some people fail to grasp the vast difference between a million and a billion. Just for a little context, a million seconds is 12 days, while a billion seconds is 32 years. The distinction between living for comfort and constantly chasing more is fascinating. For example, Jeff Bezos makes around $60,000 a minute. This video is going around 4 minutes right now, and he has already made more than some people will make an entire year or lifetime. I often think of athletes as the peak of human potential, both mentally and physically. One of the saddest moments for an athlete is realizing that they're past their prime and it's time to retire. In a similar way, Mr. Fox is living a comfortable life with a stable job. Yet, he's willing to risk everything, including his family's safeties, for his own ego and pride. You see, when Mr. Fox states,
But we're happy.
Comme ci, comme ça.
See, comme ci, comme ça, which is French, means neither good or bad, and that just means he's perfectly in the middle. Friend Foxy over here is having what humans like to call a midlife crisis.
Honey, I'm 7 non-Fox years old now. My father died at 7.5. I don't want to live in a hole anymore.
His master plan is to finish one last job, and in this he recruits Kylie the opossum to help as his assistant. The plan consists of robbing all 3 farmers. Mr. Fox's first plan initially does work, and they're able to grab a couple of squabs. And in return, he even brings a couple back to his house, and when his wife asks, he just lies.
Where'd you get this chicken?
I picked it up at the 5 and Dime last night on my way
It's
back.
got a Bogus Farms tag around its ankle.
Huh. Must have escaped from there before I bought it.
They were successfully able to rob the next 2 farms and even came across a rat who was there to protect the cider. I'm pretty sure after this altercation, the rat snitched to the owners.
Any fox problems? Are you joking?
It's horrible.
We're miserable.
He's laughing at
It's
us.
humiliating.
We're furious.
I don't even want to talk about it. Perhaps we ought to kill him.
Sneaking back in from the final mission, his wife was able to catch him. After this altercation with his wife, he ends up going outside for some fresh air, and this ends up happening.
Kill him!
After this shooting, Mr. Fox loses something very close to him, his tail.
I won't be able to sleep on my back for 6 weeks. And on my stomach, I feel congested. Why the cuss didn't I listen to my lawyer?
Because you don't listen to anybody.
What was that?
What? I said.
Wake up, everybody. They're digging us out.
He decided to dig down just to escape the farmers, and it's kind of crazy, but the tree he spent all his money on was completely gone because they digged it all up. And once again, I know the title is How to Be Happy with Less, and you're probably wondering where does that come in? First, we have to wait for Mr. Fox to lose something. So let's begin.
Skyrocketing housing costs have many families in America living in a nightmare. The shortage of affordable housing is forcing them to...
Let's take some time to talk about everybody's favorite word, materialism, and how you have to stop caring. It's a no-brainer to say that we live in a materialistic society. I mean, if we didn't, you couldn't even watch this video right now. But this movie has pointed out to me how deep we actually are in materialism. Did you know the United States wastes around 60 to 108 billion pounds of food each year, which is about 30 to 40% of the country's food supply? More waste than any other country in the world. And the crazy thing is, half the time there's nothing wrong with the food. If it just looks ugly, it's getting thrown away. But better yet, how many of you are watching on an iPhone? I told you that in March of 2024, Apple was sued by the US Justice Department for creating fake bias in the phone market. You know how when you send a text message to an Android user and the bubble is green, or how when you send a picture the quality gets worse somehow? Maybe you guessed by now, but that's on purpose, and it's just to cause tension between users. You see, a lot of these companies want people to believe that there's an imaginary divide, but in all honesty, they're selling us the same thing. But I could spend all day yapping about man-made material. But honestly, I've been thinking about the things money can't buy or we can't get back. Because when Mr. Fox loses his tail, it's something he struggles with for the rest of the movie.
Except for lizards.
Tails don't grow back. I'm gonna be tailless for the rest of my life.
And this made me think about disabilities in general. There are 13 different types of disabilities, and maybe you see yourself in one of these, and that's okay, because in some ways, you're different. Mr. Fox loses his house, but if you had to choose between a car you just bought and your arm, I think most people are choosing the arm. The second step for being happy with less is just practicing gratitude. If you're still watching this video, I would like for you to comment something that you're grateful for, and it can be anything. For waking up today, being able to have both parents, seeing, walking, things we normally take for granted, find something. I was waiting to talk about Mr. Fox's son Ash on purpose, because the first thing we learned about him is that he's different.
Well, I guess he's just different.
To tie this all in, he's designed and dressed differently from the other characters. Most importantly to the story, he's jealous of his cousin Christopherson, who's moved in because his dad is sick.
Woohoo! Woo! Whoa! Look at that! This kid's a natural. I'm speechless, Christopherson. Plus, he knows karate.
A lot of this is amplified because of Mr. Fox's ignorance and Ash just wanting approval. I didn't mention that Christopherson was chosen for the last robbery and not Ash because he was seen as a natural, which just builds more tension between the two. In all honesty, Ash is just acting out the best way he know how to express himself.
Me? Me have an apology? He gets a bandit hat? He just got here, he got a bandit hat? Where's my bandit hat? Why didn't I get shot at? It's because you think I'm no good at anything! Well, maybe you're right, thanks.
Next thing about being happy with less is that you just have to stop comparing yourself to others. You see, Mr. Fox does this a lot and Ash picks up on it bad.
He's slightly younger, but he's a cuss of a lot bigger. That's just genetics, I guess. Ash has a littler body type. You are just being available for a titanium card. How the cuss should you qualify for this?
I pay my bills on time. I've always had good credit.
Do you think I'm an athlete?
What are you talking about?
Well, you know, I think I'm an athlete, and sometimes I feel like you guys don't see me that way.
You are you for a reason. Humans as a whole are similar but extremely different at the same time. We have a world full of different cultures, races, ethnicities, and languages. You may be taller than everyone or shorter than most, but that's what makes you, you. Be proud of that. But who am I to tell you what to be proud of or what not to be insecure about? I mean, if you wanted to, you could scroll on Instagram for an hour and find insecurities you didn't even know existed. Someone I went to school with just got married while I'm still single. Everyone gets their dream jobs while I still haven't gotten a promotion yet. I'm not tall enough, I'm too fat, I'm too broke. So what? The lousiest analogy I got in high school is a picture of different animals being told to climb a tree. If it turns out that your peers are squirrels and you're just a fish, you might have to take a hop in the pond and just keep swimming. As long as you don't stop trying, who cares what people think of you? Ash sees himself as an athlete, and even if the people around him don't think of him that way, that's on them.
12 Fox years ago, you made a promise to me. In the end, we all die. Unless you change.
So now not only is his family back below ground, but they also face the potential threat of starving. The three farmers are still after Mr. Fox and they won't stop until they have him dead. And the big kicker is that all the other animals had to move below ground because of Mr. Fox's actions.
The farmers aren't going to quit until they've got you and every member of your family nailed upside down to a bloody stick with your eyes gorged out.
Mr. Fox realizes that this is serious and he starts his redemption arc. From this point on, he comes up with a plan that helps everyone out even if he has to sacrifice himself. And while all of this is happening, Felicity is having a much needed conversation with Ash.
Ash, I know what it's like to feel different.
I'm not different. Am I?
We all are. Him especially. But there's something kind of fantastic about that, isn't there?
Mr. Fox's plan was actually able to work, and they were able to rob the three farmers from underground so they can have enough food to survive. At this point, the farmers have had enough. Celebrating their victory over the farmers, they were oblivious that they're actually trying to drown them out of the hole. And all while this is going on, Ash is trying to convince Christopherson to help steal his dad's tail back. This still weighs very heavy on his conscience, and Ash also sees this as an opportunity to prove to his father that he's an athlete.
I can imagine how painful, even just emotionally, that must be for you.
Well, you know, it's not the end of the world.
Oh, but Foxy, how humiliating, having your whole tail blown clean off.
Can we drop it?
When they finally make it back up to the surface to steal the tail, Christopherson ends up getting caught and Ash was the only one to make it back. To add on to this, as soon as he gets back, the flood decides to happen.
Cider.
Why are you wearing that fake bandit hat?
We went to steal back your tail.
At this point, Christopherson is being used right now for bait, and all the other animals are realizing that their fate might be doomed. If all these animals end up dying because of Mr. Fox, he may never forgive himself. We get a pretty interesting talk between him and his wife.
Maybe if I hand myself over and let them kill me, stuff me, and hang me over their mantelpiece.
You'll do no such thing.
Darling, maybe they'll let everyone else live.
Oh, why'd you have to get us into this, Foxy?
But right now, this change of heart is too late. He had it all, a wife that loved him for who he is, and a kid that wanted to be just like him. He apologizes to his wife for his selfish behavior. He quite literally throws in the white flag, and most importantly, he has a conversation with Ash.
Ash, I'm so glad he was you. It's not your fault. It's mine.
This heartfelt moment was cut short because the rat that they fought earlier decided to come back. And in a change of fate, Mr. Fox decided that he's going to try to fight one more time.
Wild animals, each with his own strengths and weaknesses due to his or her species.
This time, utilizing everyone's strengths, they came up with a plan on how to save Christopherson and everybody else's lives. While everyone else was playing distractor, Ash, Mr. Fox, and Kylie were the ones on the rescue mission.
I can fit through there. You wanna know why?
Why?
Because I'm little.
Ash was able to get to Christopherson and end up getting him out in his own little unique way. We're now at the final standstill between the farmers and Mr. Fox, and if we're being honest, Mr. Fox has had enough at this point. But out of nowhere, Ash does something crazy. Ash's actions were able to create a perfect distraction with the rabies-infested dog. He was also able to grab Mr. Fox's tail. In the pursuit of their escape, Mr. Fox has something he wants to give to Ash, and it's his own unique bandit hat. One last thing I forgot to mention to you about Mr. Fox, and it's that he has a fear of wolves.
Yeah. Back in the old days, somebody used to do a thing where if somebody saw a wolf,
Wolf? What wolf?
Are you scared of wolves?
Scared? No. I have a phobia of them.
While escaping, they end up running into one, and we see another very interesting conversation.
Where'd he come from? Where'd you come from?
Mr. Fox then gives a fist of power and the wolf gives one back. At first I was so confused about what was the build up and the purpose of this wolf thing. Came to realize is that he isn't actually scared of wolves but more of a fear of losing his sense of humanity. I think he applauds the wolf for being a true wild animal, something he no longer has the ability to do. In the end, they're still living in a sewer, but this time Mr. Fox was able to find a grocery store to support their needs. Shopping around, Mr. Fox gets told some good news.
I'm pregnant again.
Wow. I think we're both glowing. You are without a doubt the 5.5 most wonderful wild animals I've ever met in my life. So let's raise our boxes to our survival.
In the end, Mr. Fox realizes that it isn't about the hole in the ground or the tree above it, but the people inside of it. If there's anything you take from this video, remember, materialism isn't everything. Practice gratitude, stop comparing yourself to others, and most importantly, let people know you appreciate them. Normally, I would give a closing quote from an old person, but since it's a little different, I want to give something from my favorite poet, Jermaine Cole.
This my real car I used to drive. Cause what's money without happiness? Though I'm not sure what's about to happen next. I ask for strength for it. Cause I've been strong so far, but I can feel my grip loosening. Quick, do something before you lose it for good. Get it back and use it for good. And touch the people how you did like before. I'm tired of living with demons cause they always inviting more. Think being broke was better. Now I don't mean that phrase with no disrespect. To all my niggas out there living in debt, cashing minimal checks. Turn on the TV, see a nigga Rolex, and fantasize about a life with no stress. I mean this shit sincerely. And as a nigga who was once in your shoes, living with nothing to lose, I hope one day you hear me. Always gonna be a bigger house somewhere, but nigga feel me. Long as the people in that motherfucker love you dearly. Always gonna be a whip that's better than the one you got. Always gonna be some clothes that's fresher than the ones you rock. Always gonna be a bitch that's better out there on the tours, but you ain't never gonna be happy till you love yours.